Hello everyone and welcome to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast, now back on YouTube for the first time and also for the first time with Kirsten, who is making her podcast debut along with Ben Roy. How are you guys doing? Good, man. That sounds really good. Overwhelmingly positive.
Very hot. For some reason, why is it getting so warm, man?
I don't know. I was saying to you guys before we started recording, the duvet fort that we're now recording voiceovers under is getting unbearable. It's like a little hot box now. I come out sweating. It's minging. It's miserable. You don't want to see it. But speaking of minging and miserable things, we're talking about Resident Evil today because Resident Evil 3 came out at the end of last week. We've all been playing it, but more importantly, we're all big Resident Evil fans, and we are thinking about where Capcom is going to go with the franchise in the future, because we essentially got the idea for this podcast from a survey that they've been sending out to a bunch of different players, analyzing what they want to see from the franchise going forward. In particular, the question of whether they would prefer another Resident Evil remake or a straight sequel, gauging interest to see whether the likes of, Resident Evil 0 or Code Veronica or even Resident Evil 4 could get remaked further down the line, or whether, they're going to push ahead with a straight sequel to Resi 7. So I guess that's the first jumping on point. How have you guys responded to the two remakes so far, and the other ones like the original remake? And what do you want to see from Capcom going forward?
I'm really interested to hear what Kirsten has to say, because I feel like I tell myself this every day and I always ramble. So Kirsten, I really want to know what you think about these two so far.
Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed them. I am one of those people that will play Resident Evil regardless anyway. I played Resident Evil 6, so that's saying something. But no, I think they've been really, really good. Resident Evil 3 definitely seems like it is a little bit short. But apart from that, it's just been... I really enjoy them. I think that doing more remakes, especially in the order that they're doing them, like kind of starting from the beginning and then remaking them as they go, I think that would work well to kind of clear things up and keep the story going for those that are maybe just jumping in now and haven't played the originals. But yeah, from what I've been hearing, Resident Evil 7 was really good as well, so something new would also be quite nice. To kind of bring in some new characters, some new monsters would be fun. But I really enjoy seeing like the old stuff and just having that, a new light kind of shed on them. Like seeing Nemesis in the new one was mind-blowing to me, because he just looks ridiculous in the old one. He's just kind of this beige blob with a little leather number going on. But in the new one, he's so like badass, and he shows up a lot sooner than in the old one. And yeah, it was I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, maybe something new. I don't know. It's difficult. I'll take anything at this point. Just more Resi is good for me.
Well, Ben Roy, you've obviously they're at the end of the classic fixed camera, like the classic Resident Evil style, the PS1 era style. They've done all of those main games. They've rebooted them, but obviously there was a bunch of spin-offs that you love, Ben Roy. Do you want to see any of those come back? Do you think they are they deserve a remake as much as 2 and 3?
Well, firstly, I'd like to see Resident Evil Regardless, that Kirsten said. That'd be a good name for one of them. Just Resident Evil Regardless.
But, Resident Evil Regardless. That should be the next one, definitely.
It's got to be Code Veronica next. Like, I won't accept anything else than death, really. You don't go straight to 4, because I feel like with the argument of everything is like 4 still playable. That's why we got 3, I think, so close, and they were just doing them because apart from GameCube, some various PC ports and PS1, 3's not been playable really in the modern age for so long now. They were on like the PS3 classics, but we kind of needed this to be sort of brought to the new end. But yeah, out of everything they've put up there, I did the survey myself, and I would like to see Veronica, because it might be one of the most like sort of not only underrated but just underplayed out of the series.
Yeah, I don't know about like you, Kirsten, but I haven't actually. I've played the opening mission to that game, and Ben Roy, you keep badgering me to go back, and I will do one day. but I'm waiting for them to, perhaps to do a remake, because even though you can get it on the PlayStation 4, it's always the idea, and I wonder whether this affects you. When I knew Resident Evil 3 and 2 were coming back, it made me not want to go back to the originals, because I thought, well, I'm going to get to experience it in a way in a couple of years' time, so I'll just wait. And I've done the same thing with Final Fantasy. So when it comes to, Capcom saying that they're going to potentially remake others, it makes me go, well, I might just wait and see. There's no reason for me to go back to them. I'll just, go with the flow. Hopefully they'll give me what I want, which is Code Veronica.
See, I'm the opposite. As soon as I heard about the remakes, I had to go back, because I knew that it had been such a long time, and I did want to kind of go in with a little bit of an idea as to what it was going to be about. But like I said, I've gone back and I've played at least about maybe 3 or 4 hours of the original, and compared that to the remake, and like I said, it's the time difference is completely different. And you meet Carlos sooner, you go against Nemesis way sooner. It's like right at the beginning of the remake. So even though I replayed the old one, it's like a completely new game. Like the characters are there and the kind of gist of the story is there, but it's completely sped up. So I feel like I'm already way more ahead story-wise in the remake than I ever was in the original. So, but that's just me. I just like knowing what I'm kind of getting into before I start like a new game, I guess. I like to know a basic idea, so it's not just kind of completely like, oh, who's this person? Like, oh, right, that's Jill Valentine, right? You're the one, are you? So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Sorry, John. I had a really not a nightmare last night, but I realized when I saw that the suggestion was one remake. I was wondering, are they ever going to do like their remake demakes? Like, are they going to make 2 and 3 in the old style they did, like one remake? So it's actually that game, but just with nice, beautiful backgrounds and things like that. If they do that, then I don't know, like a ranking list that we've got at the moment is full of remakes, all this sort of thing. It will just become such a mess. What's canon, I don't know. But it's probably going to have to be, for me, it's probably going to have to be Veronica, and just do Veronica, probably ignore 0 and 1, and then go to 4.
Yeah, well, right. You mentioned a really good point there, because they could do demakes, in my opinion, because for me, the remake of the first Resident Evil, and again, we're going to be tripping over ourselves because there's a bunch of different versions of these games, but the remake of the Resident Evil 1 for GameCube, that to me is perhaps my favorite Resident Evil game. I love the way they stayed true to the core mechanics, but gave it, modern graphics and perhaps a scarier edge, made the cheesy dialogue a bit less cheesy, added in a new subplot. So I do think with the way that Resident Evil as a franchise has gone, it's so different across different games. Like you said, the jump from 3 to 4 initially was massive, that there are a lot of different styles. You can go down the first person route, you can go down the third person over the shoulder route, you can do the fixed camera angles, and you can reimagine these games in a lot of different ways. And I wouldn't be averse to them doing that. I wouldn't be averse to them going back to 1, for instance, and doing it in the style of the 2 and 3 remake, just as I wouldn't be averse to them going back to 2 again and doing it in the style of the 1 remake. It's absolutely mad, but I do think they could go on forever. It's more whether or not the audience, has the appetite for that, whether they want to be bombarded with all of these different versions of games they've already had and that are already, they're all still good games at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is because they are so playable, like you don't really mind what it is that they give you, whether it's a demake or a remake or a brand new game. Like we're such sort of fans, and we're so passionate about the whole story and the characters and the games in general, that it's like, I don't really mind what you give me at this point. Like, even if they release like, Telltale sort of DLCs where it just kind of continued story-wise and it was a new story from like a different character, and I'd love to see like Rebecca and stuff sort of come in, like the smaller sort of characters you don't get to see as much. And if we could see Wesker, like Resident Evil 3 version Wesker, that would be like my dream. I love him so much, and I just think he is just the coolest character, and to have him in just like brand new graphics would be amazing. But like I said, I think at this point we would take anything, because it's just like we just love it so much. We're happy with whatever, really. There's certain routes that I think that people would like it to go down, like Ben Roy said, but I think even if they didn't go that way, we'd be happy.
I think if they give us Veronica, you'll get your Wesker dreams, because like For the most part, he's all over that, but he's just like, oh, I'm going to drop in, deliver a monologue, and then go. But like, yeah, I just want 8. I don't know about you two, but I just want the story to go forward first, and then give me another remake afterwards, because I just want new. Like, I love all this new era of remakes, but I want the story to progress. But also, I'm going to say right now that I don't mind this like sort of talk of werewolves and things like that, but no magic, please. I want Resident Evil to stay grounded in some sort. I want to be explained away with weird science, like in Resident Evil 7, the mind control. I want it to be grounded in fantasy science rather than magic. What do you two think?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. So me and Scott talked about this the other day when the rumors came out about Resident Evil 8 and that they were going to go down this more supernatural route. And just to like clarify, in case people at home don't realize what we're on about, the fact that the rumors suggest that Resident Evil 8 is going to feature a character called the Witch who infects the main character and then makes them see hallucinations and makes them see ghosts and things like that. And for me, that is the perfect way of Resident Evil being able to stay Resident Evil with all the biohazards and all the grotesque monsters, while also being able to do something new with, you know, like Ben Roy says, magic or witches or something a bit more out of the ordinary, something that you don't really associate with Resi as a franchise. And I am here for that. Kirsten, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I definitely wouldn't want it to see to be too, like Ben Roy said, like magic and wizards and all that sort of stuff. And I think it does need to be kind of explained away scientifically, and it needs to be like realistic. But yeah, I think the witch could work because, like you said, it's hallucinations and stuff like that can be kind of explained away with science and you know, drugs and stuff like that. So she could work, I think, and it sounds like a very intriguing new character. But yeah, I don't want it to start being like the whole werewolves, I guess, could kind of be explained away with some sort of mutation, but there is a very fine line, and I think if they do cross it, it will start to seem a little bit cheesy, and not in a good way cheesy, not like what we're used to with Resident Evil cheesy. I think it will start drifting into a different kind of genre that we don't want. So yeah.
What did you guys think of Resident Evil 7? Because that obviously started, you know, Capcom down the path of that. It took influences from the likes of, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Evil Dead. It was, even though it was developed by the same studio, it took a lot more influences from Western horror more than the franchise had done before. And for me, that was a cool little experiment, but I could see why it would be contentious, you know, if they doubled down on that and moved away from the regular bioweapons and used that as a framing device to, you know, tell something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre again.
Not gonna lie, I started off like kind of hating it. I was wondering what's going on. I was like, okay, you're ripping me out of like what happened after 6. Like, I know the world was saved, but then like half the world was destroyed. But I was just kind of wondering like, where are they going to go from here? And as it slowly went on and reintroduced itself more as a Resident Evil, I was like, okay, I'm kind of here for it now, and I can buy the fact that these people are infected with mold, and this mold is allowing, spoilers, I guess, a certain someone to control them. And but it was a major turn, like midway through. I was like, okay, actually, I like this American influence of horror and it being more condensed and slowly dripping out Easter eggs and things for people that have played all the other games to see. Like, there's a character from Revelations who writes a novel at the end of that game, and his novel is in that house. The same guy who designed Suspense Mansion designed that house as well. It just things like that, all these little things peppered around, which brought, I think, more staunchly fans like me, like, don't you dare reset the canon and things like that. Like, okay, now I'm here. Let's go, Capcom. Let's keep doing this.
That's why I think the remakes have sort of been integral to Capcom's journey with the franchise, because when it came to 7, like you said, although there were some fans, me included, and I guess you two as well, who wanted to see the storyline of 6 continued. I think it's fair to say at that point the franchise had become like incredibly bloated. It tried too much. It almost became a mockery of itself, and it took a kicking by critics and fans alike, to be fair. And I think 7 was very much a course correction to that. It was almost a clean break, you know. For a while, it was just called Resident Evil Biohazard. 7 was kind of hidden in the title. But I think going back to 2 and 3 has shown the world that you can have those characters. You can have the larger-than-life, you know, Leon Kennedy or Chris or Jill or Claire, and you can put them in a quote-unquote realistic horror situation and still have it be scary and still make that mythos, matter and not allow it to get silly as Resi 6 got. And, have the horror and action and enjoy it.
And say that was RE6 Resident Evil's endgame, because it seemed to all reset after that you had all Earth's mightiest heroes come together, Leon and Chris, everything, fighting Big Dinosaur Man, and then back to sort of like square one.
You know what, Ben Roy? I don't think I would give it enough credit to call it the Resident Evil Endgame, but I certainly think that's what Capcom thought it was going to be, with all those
That's what they were going for.
Absolutely. So like, what do you guys want to see from a Resi 8 then? Because we've talked about like the rumors and stuff, but personally, if you had carte blanche, you're going into this sequel, you've played Resi 6, you played Resi 7, you've played the remakes, what, pros do you want to see from all of those different games put into 8? Because I would like, I'm greedy. I would like a blend of everything. I want to see first person come back, but I would love it if you had the option to swap between first and third person. Because The Evil Within 2, I don't know if you played that. That's one of my favorite survival horror games of the generation, and that patched in a first person mode after launch, and it didn't take anything away from the horror. If anything, it made it even scarier, but it gave players the option of whether they want to play it as a over the shoulder shooter, or if they want to be more immersed in it. And I love that, just the idea that Resident Evil doesn't have to pick one of two options. It could have everything essentially.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if definitely giving it that option to be able to do third person or first person, because I think having that first person aspect makes you feel like you're more part of the game, and it makes it feel like it's you're included in it and it's happening to you. And I think that's what makes it scary, and I think that's why Resident Evil 7 worked so well, is because it was in first person and you had the VR aspect, which was terrifying, and it made it feel like it was happening to you as well as Ethan. But I do agree that having being able to have a choice would be really good, because that's not for everyone. They want to stick to the whole third person route. So and I agree. I think having a blend of everything, I think to have something new and a new story, maybe even carrying on for Resident Evil 7 would be good. But I do also want to have at least a shout out, or like I said, little sort of like trophies and Easter eggs to kind of hint at the characters that we do know and love, whether it is Chris or Wesker or Rebecca or Jill, whoever. It's just nice, a little sort of wink to people that are sort of like, yeah, this is new and we know that you're not familiar with this, but we are going to chuck some people in that you are familiar with, just to kind of like make you feel better and feel more at home. So yeah, I think like you said, a mixture of everything would be nice. A nice blend would be good.
Yeah, 100%.
I would like to see, I'm just like a campaign until this happens. Either bring Valentine back in sort of like a referee, or give me Valentine in 8, because we haven't seen her in the canon as such from 5 Revelations onwards. Like, what everyone was around in 6, what was she doing? But I can also go with the Ethan route to have him again, but I don't know kind of what he would do in this. Maybe more like sort of investigations even into what was going on with her wife and stuff. And I would also want the new happy, smiley, fun Umbrella to be like scared very much, because Umbrella are now, quote, the good guys at the end of this, and I kind of don't buy it. I'm waiting for the major double turn again, like, haha, we're actually evil, good, evil, and it's gonna happen. And maybe bring, as much as people might hate it, bring Jake Wesker into it. Have him like be.
You did not just say that.
I realised that it's actually Troy Baker. So get as much bacon as you can be, and have him like say be like a Lewis character from 4, where he just pops in and out and helps you in certain occasions. Then again, I'm not tied to Ethan. Ethan can just it's good if people just pop out, but then. The idea of being set like East Europe again and in a dark village, I'm quite skeptical, because it's like, look, we're now doing the Resident Evil 4 thing again. I would like to, I don't know, maybe more of a town or a village. Like, I don't think we should do a whole city being destroyed. I don't think we should retread any grounds. Maybe I've got it. Like a globetrot bit, like in Code Veronica. So have like maybe 1 or 2, 3 big locations, go from there to there. and I know some people like to backtrack and do certain things, like I'm going to go and get this grenade that I left in room 1 of the game, but maybe split up in that sort of way. That's kind of how I see it may go. That's a lot of rambling, but I basically just bring Troy Baker back and do it in a village and maybe get a guy with a chainsaw again.
A lot of good points there, Ben Roy. First off, yes, bring Jill back. Call it Resident Evil Valentine's Day, and I'm already in. Release it on Valentine's Day, and then we've got, for me, Capcom, I've got your entire PR campaign already planned out for you. I would also like to see Jake come back. I saw Kirsten recoil in horror at the sheer mention of that, though. But I'm kind of used to that. What have you got against him, Kirsten? He seems like a nice dude,
It's just bad memories, No, because I just think he was just one of those characters that was like, he was just so overpowered, and he just kind of seemingly came out of nowhere. I don't know. I don't like change, and he was just. It was just like, who is this guy? And then it was, he was kind of tied into Wesker, which I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that Wesker had a kid without me, and I just got upset, and it wasn't mine. So that's what he just betrayed my trust by having a child that wasn't mine. But no, I just think he just. I don't know. He just seemed too unbelievable. Is that a good way to put it? Just having this character that was so overpoweredly strong and just being able to just wipe things out with just no care in the world, and it just seemed too easy for him. And that's not what Resident Evil's about. Like they're relatable because they have their weaknesses, and he just didn't seem to have any. And
he would literally kick zombies to death. I mean, that was how you controlled him. So in an unbelievable game, he still managed to be unbelievable. Ben Roy, you're going to interject there. What were you going to say?
I was just saying, like, Palpatine had a kid, didn't have a kid, so anything goes now. West, a bit of naughty stuff in there, but just the way you solve that. There's a little film called Resident Evil Afterlife, and in that film, Wesker takes away Alice's powers with the antidote. Just do that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
If
they bring him back with no powers, then fine. That's fine. I'll happily accept him. But OP Jake, no, not for me. Not for me.
This is madness. Don't you ever suggest that the Resident Evil game series takes any tips from the Resident Evil movie series. And I quite like the Resident Evil movie series, but that is not a door you want to open, my friend.
Mm-mm.
And I also just have a big shout out for Sheva. Like, bring Sheva back. Like, have her maybe be part of the UBCC, like something like that. Or maybe she's helping heading up New Umbrella. Like, don't just... I did just say I don't mind if Ethan doesn't turn up here, but I wouldn't say don't abandon one character forever. Like, have this, if they give this global anti-biohazard threat, that they should all be sort of like popping in and sort of like seniors. I don't know, because I feel like she played such a big part in that she deserves a return in some way.
Yeah, I feel like you almost need to do sort of like an Avengers Endgame, but like Resident Evil, and just have them just all turn up, like you said with Resident Evil 6, where everyone seemed to kind of turn up to save the day, but there were still major sort of characters that weren't there. So it'd be quite nice to at least have a few of the characters like pop up, even if it is just for like a few scenes, to be like, oh, there's Sheva, like, oh yeah, okay, there's Jake. Like, it's nice, isn't it? It's a nice little nod to the characters, that like, just to sort of show you, oh, we haven't forgot about them, this is where they are now, this is what's going on, and this is how going through these issues and the whole zombie pandemic has shaped them as different characters. Would be quite nice to see where they are.
And what was Carlos doing 20 years later? Get Carlos in there. Like, we've got that mad haircut. Who knows?
His hair.
I do think you're right, though. Like, when it comes to the lesser character, I almost swallowed my face there. When it comes to the lesser characters in Resident Evil, I feel like they've all still got enough there that if they were given the chance, they could become something special. Like Ben Roy, I'm not a huge fan of Ethan, but I want him to return because I think there's enough interesting things, teased in Resident Evil 7, that you could make him as good a character as, the Resident Evil headliners. And I think the same thing, is also true of Sheva and 5. But Ben Roy, you mentioned you don't want the series to retread water. But Kirsten, you said you don't like change. So that brings me to the big question of, when it comes to Resident Evil 8 or whatever the next Resident Evil game is, we have seen a lot of, repeated situations, locations, and mechanics from the old games. Like me and Scott in the news video were talking about the idea of persistent enemies and how that Resident Evil does that well, but because we've seen them so many times across so many consecutive games, that the allure to me is fading. And I've got to admit, the same thing is happening with sewer levels. It's happening with the hidden laboratory. And although you could argue those things are at the heart of Resident Evil, I wouldn't mind them coming back, but I want them done in a new way. I want them to either do something new or give us a spin on old ideas with a fresh lick of paint, and not just kind of, give it to us with a nod and a wink of, hey, this is Resident Evil, this is what we do.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
So that 7 pretty much did that and did everything you guys asked. Don't know if it's a little dig, but like, you're not going to get out of the secret laboratory. It's not. It's like saying you're going to take Hogwarts out of Harry Potter. No, it's there, mate. It's there. Get over it. It's there.
Yeah.
I'm being a bit too aggressive there, but I think you've got to have some sort of secret lab, because it's like Biohazard. Where are you going to make this stuff? Like, I do understand as well. Like, I think after this, people are reminded that a lot of Resident Evils have had the same sort of things, and maybe 3 Remake has pushed certain things more into our faces than we would like. But I think Jack was done really well in 7, and I think you can get around it. But then again, I don't want to be chased for a whole game. I was playing 3 thinking after you get past the initial stages where Nemesis can come from anywhere, I kind of enjoyed it a bit more, just to be able to soak it in. And I will say, yes, sewers are a plague in all games, I think. But I like the sewer section in 3, I think it's so there and gone. It's okay. But then again, I do agree with you and Scott. I think if you have a Resident Evil 2 section where most of it's in the sewers, then what are you doing? Get in the bin. But then again, that was 1998 design. That was, how can we make an area which is tall, small, and not resource draining? So what I'm saying is, I agree with your points entirely. Then again, I think you're gonna have a lab regardless. It's just Resident Evil.
I will partly agree with you in that Resident Evil 7 did manage to do those things in an interesting and new way. Even though you did eventually go to a lab, it wasn't, quite what we'd seen before, and it was in a completely separate location, and it came after, hours and hours of something so un-Resident Evil. And I will also agree that Jack was pretty good for the most part. The idea of him, popping up whenever, being virtually indestructible, crashing through walls, that was awesome. My only issue isn't necessarily with these core systems or core features. It's just the overexposure of them. I'm fine with them in isolation, but we all play Resident Evil quite regularly. We all love Resident Evil, so we've experienced these things before. And it's just, I wonder and I worry whether Capcom are perhaps resting on their laurels a bit of, this is Resident Evil, without trying to reinvent the wheel. Because for me, this series has always been about fundamentally reinventing the wheel. That's just some, caution and some fear from me seeping out there. But I'm sure they'll hopefully do a good job.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think persistent enemies is one of those things that if you have never played Resident Evil 4 is scary. But when you are like us and you have played it many, many times, many different versions, the panic's there, I guess, but it's not a scary aspect. It's more of a hindrance, and it's more when you are trying to experience every part of the game and you are trying to get the Easter eggs and stuff, and you have someone standing in your way, it is incredibly frustrating, because it's just like, no, I don't want to fight new Nemesis. I don't want to be running away from Mr. X. I want to be trying to find all the hidden jewels, and I want to be getting the Easter eggs, and it is frustrating. And I think Jack, like you said, was done very well, because he did kind of just pop up out of nowhere, and he wasn't essentially sort of chasing you in a sense. But I think that bringing back more the the special zombies, like the chainsaw guys, the ones that were, when they did pop up, it was like, oh no, I can't be dealing with this. I've not got the right items. I haven't planned for this. That for me is more of a scary situation, because as soon as you see them, you're like, oh, I know how to beat them, and I know it's going to be difficult. And the fact that they can just kind of sort of pop up anywhere, but it's not like a boss battle, and they're not chasing you necessarily. I don't know. I feel like they sort of will work better in the new game than, like you said, someone who's persistently just catching up to you slowly, or chasing you basically. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think that would work in the new game at all. Really, I think we're bored of that now.
Witch was in this one, and I just think like the Witch character was a mini boss like the chainsaw guy, so like Dr. Salvador. If she came along and was messing with your mind, maybe it could be like a Silent Hill thing where you don't necessarily enter Hell World, but things start melting and the environment changes. That would give them so much scope to make weird locations, a bit like the end of Evil Within 2, where just things, anything goes, just all broken up. And if you took that, what is theorized to be this new sort of like thing that's stalking you throughout the game, but I hope it only pop up at certain sections, you could have a lot of fun with that, I think. And you think you could take Resident Evil in ways that it's never been done before without breaking the world fundamentally, and then eventually have it just come down to it's a chemical reaction. Life's just one big chemical reaction, mate. And it's
you know, that's a lovely
life
little note
finds
to end
a way.
on, then, right? Yeah, life finds a way. It's one big chemical reaction, and you will turn into a giant monster with eyes for hands. But yeah, before we wrap up, I want to finish with the core question. Just going to be snappy of that, like kickstarted this entire podcast. It's the idea of what do you guys want to see next? Do you want another remake, or do you want an actual sequel? I should have asked one of you in particular there. Kirsten, you go first.
I think I would like something new. I think we know what's going on. They've leaked that there's going to be something new. So yeah, stick with that. If that's what you're going to do, stick with it. I want to see new things now.
RE8, please, or Rev3, please, and then Code Veronica Remake, please. Thank you.
There you go, Capcom. You have your instructions. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you envision as the future of the Resident Evil franchise? And please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. I promise you, they're really good. Even if you don't, though, I've been Josh. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Brune. This has been Kirsten. You can follow her on Twitter at... What is your handle, Kirsten?
It's at Kirsten Ria with 2 A's. It's everywhere.
Rolls off the tongue. Ben Roy, what's yours?
Oh, it's just Ben Roy Turner. No hyphen, no nothing. One word. Let's go. Follow me.
Minimalism. Good. Chemical reactions. I hope you've all had a good time, and we'll see you soon. Bye.